Hey there, my name is Renee, and I'm a director of the Tradition School of Herbal Studies. I live in St. Pete, Florida, and my family on the one side has been in Florida since the late 1600s. And I was asked a lot of questions. I have a school and a clinic, and I'm a practitioner, and I get asked, thank you, one of the other teachers and directors, I get asked a lot of questions that are really basic. And I think it's important that we answer them. And one of the things we talk about is bioregionalism. When you come to class with me at Tradition School, I always teach you out of the lens of what would be a mission, vision, and value. And it's something that I think probably was taught to me from when I was a small child and instilled in that way. And I like to pass that on as thinking of a better way of stewarding our plant companions and our earth and our human race forward. I was also taught what we would now call permaculture or biodynamics. It's actually just the way you're supposed to plant and be aware of the seasons and be in touch with the earth. So one of my mission, vision, and values is that you know your plant companions and your friends and your communities around you. And I consider the plants to be my peer group and my friends and above me and sentient beings. And so I say the term bioregionalism all of the time. So I'm going to talk for a second about why I think it's important for you to know your bioregion and to practice bioregionalism as a spiritual practice. We teach it as a very clinical scientific practice of getting good medicine, but I want you to also understand that if you use this practice or you think of this practice in everything that you do, your footprint on the earth becomes light and you start to do better for your body with the choices that you make because you're in touch with your bioregion. So let's talk about bioregionalism. I say that all of the time and people don't know what it is, and I want to make sure that you guys are clear. So I was trained from a really super good, very like conspiracy freak thought process prepper of that if the electric goes out, where are you going to get your food and your medicine? The government's not going to tell me what medicine I have or what food I have, things like that. And so because of that, from a very, very, very small age, I was very aware of what on the ground around me I could eat or use for medicine. And I'm talking a very young age. Probably in the 2-year-old range, I have a memory of a plant being shown to me and used on a bee sting. My family were beekeepers. So we'll talk about how that works. So your bioregion is the biological material that's offered in any place that you can get 5 to 10 miles out and back in one day. And this is an old concept and practice that comes from a shaman healer, and that's very much a tunic term that's from Siberia, so we'll just say a medicine person's here. Medicine person or a mom or a hunter that would have to travel on foot to get a certain amount of food or medicine, and they wouldn't be able to do that and sustain going days and days and days away and days and days and days back. So you have to look within your region. So the biological material within my region, it's my obligation to know it, to talk about it, to taste it, to see how its energetics worked, and we'll do another video about energetics. And be very aware of that in case something happens and I need to be prepared for food. So a good example is this. Lots of people have asthma, and we're going through a time period in our world where we can't breathe because we happen to have the plague right now, COVID. And so I have lots of friends and lots of people who are going to the store and trying to be natural, lots of herbal friends and herbal students who are going and getting like eucalyptus oil or going to get thyme or wild cherry bark or things that we would traditionally be taught as being good for cough or good to, like usnea, good for killing stuff in the lungs, or pleurisy. Well, here in Florida, especially where I live close to the ocean, we're very much the tropics, where I am in Florida. And so we don't have pleurisy growing and elecampane growing. We don't have a lot of usnea hanging like you do in Oregon and Seattle. And so what do I have here that is blooming right now during the times that my body really needs it, so that the illness that was coming forward would be exactly what the plants, remember, I think the plants are sentient. They actually know more. They're literally in connection with the earth. They know we're in a plague, so they're making adjustments. What do I have here that's going to help with that cough? And is it going to help with a dry cough, or is it going to help with a wet cough? Well, I can tell you It's going to help with a dry cough right now in my area, because that's what we're going through, and the plants know and the earth knows. We're not separate. So I'm sitting in a pile of weeds. And so there's like weeds, I'll pull one out of the ground. So like, see, like I'm sitting in a pile of weeds. There's weeds right in front of me here. It's really very interesting. I have this other one here. I just pulled it out of the ground on the other side, but I'll show you one of the bigger ones so you can see. Ooh, you can see a flower on this one. We'll show you. So you see that? So these 3 plants, I'm just sitting in a chair in our garden. That's like a jungle. It's a United Plant Savers of America marked botanical spot. So if I go with what I can reach right now, I'm looking at this plant right here, which is called Biden's Alba. And Biden's Alba, on a very mild level, is very specific for a lingering dry cough. Gee, that sounds familiar for what we're going through right now. The other one that I have in my hand here, which may not even be indigenous, but it's everywhere, so now it's at least naturalized, is Punarnava, a folk name hogweed, but not the hogweed up north, so don't use hogweed, it will poison you, but Punarnava, which is good for hot infection. Damp, hot infection is the way that they would describe it, because we do everything out of energetics, like we have to know the energetics. So you think about dry, lingering cough, has antiviral, antibacterial properties. Hot, damp infection, so the fever part of it. And the one with the yellow flower that I showed you is called Ceta, right here. And it all just looks like a field of green. But because I'm very, very, very good friends with these 3 plants, I know them well, and I know them as food. Ceta is one of the strongest antivirals that we have, and it also bronchodilates so we can breathe. So right now, with everything blooming, allergies going around, us going back to school and having respiratory viruses go crazy through our children, and with COVID, this is what's blooming right now at my feet, and I don't need a single thing. This is food. I feed this to my students all the time. This is medicine. This is a weed. They're very identifiable, and they're literally at my feet. My dog runs over them every day. And months and months and months ago, when I needed some Ceta, they weren't here. You know why? Because we didn't need it on the earth right then. We need it now. And so now it's blooming crazy. That is the benefit of knowing your bioregion. So if I think about teaching you guys what bioregionalism is in herbalism, it's really very much a bigger picture for me. If I knew the plants, if I was walking out here every day, if I was sitting on the earth, if I was in contact with the outside world every day, I would be very aware of these plants. So that means I'd be very aware of many other things. I wouldn't be putting my head down. I wouldn't be ignoring my other community. I wouldn't be treading hard on the earth that I'm in. I'd be very cautious what I dumped into the land at the time, and my food choices would be very thoughtful and very thought out, because I would be in contact with this every day. And that is why it's important to know bioregionalism. On another note that I didn't even think about is that the footprint of me walking out my back door and getting my medicine and my food versus the footprint of me getting strawberries that are flown in or trucked in from California on the earth is so much lighter. The food is so much healthier. It's so much fresher. The medicine is so much fresher. It has no gasoline on it, no radiation. I don't have to worry about who touched it. I have a complete communication and relationship with what's going on. I am in one with the circumstance. That is the concept of bioregionalism. It's not just a term to get you to use the plants in your area. Very much, it's a way of looking at a whole entire lifestyle. This way, you're not invading and stealing someone else's culture. This way, you're not out of tune with what's happening around you. This way, you're totally entrenched in your community. You totally know exactly what's going on under your feet, and you're taking care of it. And that can't help but rub off on other facets of your life and what's going on. So with me, from the very beginning, you hear the term bioregionalism, and it's so that you know your bioregion, you know how to plant in your bioregion, you know how to talk to your plants in your bioregion, you know the weather systems, you know the animals, you know what's going on, and you're completely aware of your surroundings, therefore aware of your surroundings, aware of everybody else around you, and you're making more conscious decisions. So you can see where that's a very important thing to me, and not just a dictionary definition. So next time you hear me say bioregionalism, know that if there's a zombie apocalypse, you can run right outside, look down onto the ground, and pull the medicine and the food up that you need, and you don't need the grocery store to open up, and you don't need the pharmacist to get it for you, because you have a relationship with your medicine. Thank you. If you want to see more of these kind of things, go to our YouTube channel. We put them out all the time. Subscribe, and every time a new one comes up, it will give you a notice saying that's the case. lots of things about energetics, lots of recordings about things that I said that you may not have understood. And I'm happy to answer questions too. So send some questions out underneath this. So remember, Renee, School of Herbal Studies. Have a good day.